Hi Baldwin Heights, it's me, Mrs. Martin. I'm here to read Charlotte the Scientist is Squished. It's about this rabbit named Charlotte who loves to test and experiment hypotheses, but she's got a problem. And if you know anything about rabbits, they tend to be in large families, and Charlotte is feeling like she can't do her scientific experiments. So let's read to find out how she solves that problem. Charlotte was a serious scientist. Protective glasses, a lab coat, and a magnifying glass were her essential scientific equipment, plus a clipboard for important notes. Charlotte solved problems by conducting experiments that followed the scientific method. Question, hypothesis, experiment, observation, conclusion. All the steps you need for the scientific method. And Charlotte had a problem. She was squished. You see Charlotte? She was squished at the table. She was squished in the tub. And sometimes she was even squished on the toilet. Oh, yikes. It had become impossible to conduct her experiments. Her test tubes were taken, her beakers got broken, and her specimens were spoiled. Charlotte needed some space. Time to use the scientific method. Oh boy, think of what all her brothers and sisters are doing to her equipment. Maybe some of you can relate to that when your siblings might mess with your things and you don't really like that. That happens sometimes. Step 1, ask a question. Here's her question. How can I get some space around here? She looks like she feels pretty passionate about that. Step 2, form a hypothesis. If I can get rid of my brothers and sisters, then I will have room to be a real scientist. Step 3, test the hypothesis. Experiment, or what I think is the fun part. She tried an experiment to make everyone disappear, but it didn't work. She tried another experiment to make herself disappear. Uh-oh, that didn't work either. Looks like she just turned herself green. If she was going to get some space, then she would have to go there. She's traveling in a carrot rocket ship to space. Here she goes, blasting off. She landed in space. She's got all kinds of space here. She can run free. She looks happy so far. Step 4, make and record observations. Charlotte was no longer squished at the table. She was no longer squished in the tub. And Charlotte could take as long as she wanted on the toilet. Space was splendid. So far, so good for Charlotte. Finally, step 5, draw conclusions. She had all the room she needed to conduct very important experiments using her protective glasses, her lab coat, and magnifying glass. Her test tubes were tidy, her beakers looked brilliant, and her specimens were sparkling. Her hypothesis was correct. She finally had room to be a scientist. The only problem was there was no one to talk to at mealtime, no one to blow bubbles with in the tub, and what was Charlotte supposed to do when she ran out of toilet paper? She's in there saying, hello. Space was lonely. So back to step 2, form a new hypothesis. Sometimes things don't work out for scientists and they have to go back and start over. Here's Charlotte thinking of a new hypothesis. If I can have friends in space, then I won't be lonely. And I can be a real scientist. So, time for more experimenting. Now she's got to come up with some friends for space. Charlotte tried chocolate, but it was too tempting. Chocolate bunnies. The balloons were kept floating away. And robot bunnies were poor conversationalists. They got ruined in the bathtub and tangled in the toilet paper. They're all tangled up. Here's this one saying, boop. It's not much good for conversation. Charlotte missed her family. She even missed being squished. Who would have thought she'd miss that? So she tried one last experiment. She's looking back at home. Here she comes back home. Her family's all happy. Hi, Charlotte. And she reached a new conclusion. Charlotte didn't need outer space. She just needed her own space. And that's the end. So Charlotte found out that she didn't need to be far away from her family to be a great scientist. She just needed her own space to be able to conduct some experiments still, but still have her family close by. So Baldwin Heights, I hope you enjoyed Charlotte the Scientist is Squished. Thanks for tuning in.